Since I was young, my parents have sheltered me from the outside world. Coming in as foreigners from Nigeria, they, unbeknownst to me, had an impression of America as being an unsafe gun-holding country. Their idea was that if they kept my three sisters and I away from the outside world, it would help preserve our lives. Upon their arrival to America, they had many ideas of what it would be like. From what I learned in grade school every day, the only reason my parents as foreigners would come to America was to find a better future for their children. As a young black girl, an issue I came across was finding a way to manage my hair. It wasn't easy to maintain my hair as it grew longer and rougher. To find a hairdresser, my mom had to turn to low-income areas, which just happened to be where most black hairdressers lived. We found a hairdresser in Crenshaw and decided to meet her at her home to get my hair plaited. When we arrived there, we saw running towards us down the street a young African-American child, and behind him 2 men with a gun running after him. From what we saw, we drew the conclusion that the 2 men running after the boy were gangbangers trying to catch and hurt the young man. We quickly fled the scene, acting as if we saw nothing, never returning to this hairdresser again. I remember on the drive home, my mom went on about the way guns are handled in this country. She said, "That's why you always see people dead in this news. They allow their people to carry guns as if they were toys, and don't teach them the value of life." It came to my understanding that my mom doesn't value American ideals. Growing up, I thought my parents moved here because it was a greater country than Nigeria, but here it became apparent to me that that wasn't their reason. America, like every other country, is flawed. Growing up in my house and being sheltered, I learned many things about this country and its workings, but only ways to defend against them. My parents always made it clear to me that I was different from all the other children because I'm African. They always said this to imply I was better than American children. My parents demonized many regular American pastimes. All they saw was a country of people without anything to live for, find their happiness in materialistic things. Their thinking molded the way I saw life as I continued to grow into a young woman. I find now that I completely understand where they were coming from. These standards they set on my sisters and I have built us into very strong and independent women with a lack of social skills. Most foreign parents with first-generation children shelter them and give them these standards in the hopes that it grows them into strong, independent individuals. They raise them to understand America the way they do and combat it the way they do. The issue is, first-generation children aren't in the same position as their parents, being that they were born here. Though being raised to understand the world through a looking glass rather than being immersed in it can be a good thing, it may also weaken the children. Without getting the hands-on experiences and feeling the rises and falls, children won't be fully adapted and ready for the real world. Most of us take comfort in the fact that our parents loved us enough to be overly protective of us, but also wish they had let us fail sometimes. Our parents never set us up for failure. Though to some parents this may have been an opportunity for their children to learn, to mine it was a waste of time. It wasn't learn from your mistakes, it was learn to do it right every time. A certain level of perfection was expected. In school, B's were never acceptable. In sports, second place out of 1,000 meant you lost. They raised me to be perfect in every manner of life that I could control. This became problematic coming into college. In college, I received my first C in a class ever. I almost crumbled. I couldn't understand how it was possible that with putting the amount of work I did in, I still received a C. This is when I learned a little bit about life my parents hadn't taught me. What I learned was there will be times in life where I give something what I perceive to be my all, and results don't line up. In life, one must be adaptable. You can't apply the same approach to every situation, because it simply won't succeed every time. Though my parents made America seem like a straight-cut country where you do what you need to do and everything works in your favor, it isn't that way at all. There is unique depth to this place. It isn't a country full of people who don't value life, but instead a country full of those who value their own life and their close loved ones' lives above all, not very different from the values of other countries. Being sheltered as a child, I've been able to grow with a specific outlook on American society, different from those whose parents are from here. Though it has had its setbacks, I wouldn't trade it for the world, because our outlooks on life are what define us as who we are. Real issues need we have to separate ourselves from each other. Up until taking this course, I believed I was better than others, that I was somehow better tailored to withstand the hardships of life than others. What I have found is this is far from the truth. We so badly want to separate ourselves from one another based on extrinsic things that we look past the intrinsic factors. We don't look at what really pushed my parents to move to America, or why these gangbangers are chasing after the young man, not validating it at all, but we have become surface-based people. If we only took a step back, I believe we'd see that we aren't all so different. The reason we do all the things we do is purely survival. The wealthiest man in the world still makes more each day because he is preparing for the future, not much different from the working class man. We see though as a man being greedy for money. Raised the way I was, I only looked at the surfaces of people and things, judging them based off the way I was taught to. I always said it is important for us to slow ourselves down when we feel ourselves judging people, because we don't know a person's struggle based on what we think we see.